Hi, I'm Helena.
And I'm David.
And this is The Singing Soul. So, for today's topic, which we're very, very belated, but today's topic is how do we approach anger? First of all, huge apology for not making a video sooner. It's been a little bit of a crazy time. We've actually been planning our wedding, and between that and work and all the other different pursuits that we've had and community events, it's been really hard to sit down and do this, especially.
The first quote that I actually wanted to open this up with, and I'm going to give it right back to Helena after this quote, is the following quote. Anger is one of the traits most condemned in Jewish literature. Someone who gets angry, we are told, is like one who worships idols. Anger can cause a sage to lose his wisdom, or a person who is destined for greatness to forfeit it.
So I listened to this really great lecture by Rabbi Alona Nava. If you haven't heard him yet, go look him up on YouTube. He's great. But anyway, he talked about exactly what David said, that actually even someone as great as Moshe completely forgot the halakha, the law, when it came to anger. And each time he became angry, he was punished. This is really huge because we consider Moshe to be the greatest of all of the Jews throughout history. And since he himself could be punished for anger, how much more so can we be punished, right?
So the first simple recommendation is wait. The first step is to wait. Don't express your anger in a verbal way. In this way, the emotion does not gain momentum. So take a deep breath, run to the bathroom and count to 100, etc. Whatever your thing is, find a way to take yourself out of the situation. You have to know that someone is watching. Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi explains that we must constantly remember that the creator of the world is watching at every single moment. There's a quote, "Behold, God stands over him, and the whole world is full of his glory. And he looks upon him and examines his conscience and heart to see if he is serving him as it is fitted." So, very often, this world seems void of holiness, of God, etc. It seems very mundane, it seems very physical. And we have to remember that God is in every single thing that we do and every single thing that we see. He's everywhere all the time. He manifests himself in our actions. He manifests himself in our deeds and so forth. It's not just, you were able to sneak that cookie, that chocolate chip cookie as a little kid and no one's watching. There really is someone, not just watching, but a very active participant in your deed. It says that at the time of anger, faith has departed a person. For were he to believe that what happened to him is of God's doing, he would not be angry at all. Anger is a form of idol worship. Everything that happens in this world has a specific reason and a specific purpose. When you become angry, you forget that God runs this world. You think that everything is about you and that it's about you and your emotions, and you start to worship these emotions rather than understanding that there is an ultimate master, ultimate creator of the universe. Ultimately, we only worship one being, that is Hashem, God, and we do not worship our emotions, and we do not let them get the best of us.
According to the Talmud, any person that has anger, all the powers of Gehinnom, which is hell, control him. Now, I have to say, I mean, I've seen people get into a rage before, and sometimes it seems like, wow, like, where is this coming from? This does not seem like, that person. Normally that person is pretty soft-spoken, and, I'm sure you've all seen that. It's actually very normal, according to the Talmud. You let your anger get the best of you, and all of a sudden, it's like these powers that come from hell are controlling you, and it leads you to do awful things or scream awful things.
Scream, kill, steal, things you would never do on a clear head. You can't even drive normally when you're angry.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, right? Someone almost gets you into an accident on the road, and before you know it, you're cussing and yelling and hitting the steering wheel, and this happens all the time in the Bay Area, by the way. But no, that's also me. But the thing is
this is a confession session.
Yeah, confession. It's very Jewish concept. So what I always try and do is first breathe. Is this worth it? think to yourself, really push thoughts into your head. If you don't push thoughts into your head, like reasonable thoughts, if you just immediately follow that feeling and let it take you on that wild ride, it could be bad. It could be really bad, and I can say that from experience. But if you stop, breathe, think, question, is this worth it?
In the Tanya, the Jewish book of how to relate to God beyond the laws, like a personal relationship, it says that a person has 2 seconds to take control over an emotion. So whatever emotion it is, especially negative ones, you have 2 seconds. Most of the time, we're not professionals, we're not able to do it. So there's something known as thought, speech, and action. Okay? TSA. Thought, speech, and action. So what happens is that, for example, you have a bad habit. It could really be any bad habit, but today we're talking about anger. So you have the bad habit of getting angry, perhaps getting explosive, right? The first thing you have to do is control your thoughts. You have to constantly think good thoughts. You have to talk to yourself throughout the day, preemptively. I will not get mad when I talk about this. For example, sometimes I'll sit there and I'll be like, God, I need you to help me not get mad. Please, I love this person or I love that person. I don't want to scream. I don't want to become emotional. Help. So first thing is thought. You have to channel your thoughts in a certain way. Next is speech. Control your speech. Once you control your thoughts, your speech follows. So make sure that profanity is not coming out. Everything has, like, when you say a certain word, you swear, for example, there's something associated with that swearing, usually some kind of negative emotion. And the more and more it comes out, the more and more negativity that comes out with it. It happens to all of us, but we have to control the words that we say, because they do affect our impression of a conversation. And finally, action. We control our anger, we control our reaction, and ultimately our action. This is not something that happens just like that, It's something that takes time and practice. It's you're going to at some point perhaps fail, and you have to know that you can never get angry at yourself for failing. There's a quote in Pirkei with Ethics of Our Fathers, essentially like wisdom compiled by our sages. And there's a very famous quote: "You're not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it." Meaning you're not allowed to become a slave to your anger. Does it mean you'll never succumb to it? Perhaps you may succumb to it, but you must always continuously practice, pray, and hope, and ask God to be able to help you defeat this, to be able to defeat this emotion that makes you a slave. It is a wrestling match. It is a fight, and the moment that you give up, you lose.
Yeah, please comment on this topic. Let us know your tips and ideas, and we'll see you next time.
Or normal?
Well, that's